because of this war, right? And this and chaos inside the United States. I think, when the Wall Street crashes and our economy crashes, that's what causes chaos. That's what'll get people in the street. And what I hope happens is that, they say, oh, the left, right, we have a lot in common. We have to come together and oppose the oligarchs. Well, the left and the right did come together, but they came together at the top of the parties. They all agree on the worst stuff. They all agree on horrible wars, and they all agree on keeping us from health care, and they all agree on crushing workers. And so I hopefully that this crisis that is being caused by Donald Trump's actions with Iran will cause the people at the bottom to come together and realize that it's always been a lie, the left-right divide, that we have more in common that divides us, and we share a common enemy, and the common enemy is the WEF globalists that...
All right, let's stop. All right, let's stop that right there. I don't like all the bullshit globalist talk. I'm trying to make this quick. So I just want to make a couple of points because we're in uncharted waters now, right? So I want to try to make this relatively quick. So let's say a couple of things. And run through this. There is no shutting this down, right? Let's be clear that there is no shutting this down. The only solution is a military solution. Let me say that again. The Iranians are correct. They said that they're going to fight, and they're going to fight to reorder the Middle East and that whole area, right? That part of Asia, Middle East, North Africa. And the only solution is a military solution. I said that about a year ago, right? I agree. Someone said that, and I concur. And they backed off, but I didn't. The only solution is a military solution. And I'm going to say some controversial things real quick. If not, this is a existential threat for all mankind, right? For you, your children, right? I don't give a fuck if you live in La La Land. You're getting ready to get blown out of La La Land. Like, all your misconceptions, all your normalcy bias is going to get disintegrated very quickly in short order, right? See, I had this conversation with somebody, and just because you think something hasn't happened, you think it won't happen. Even though you see it on the news and you see hints of it and people like Dorr and Jones and different commentators talk about it, you think, well, that can never happen, right? In the back of your mind, right? There's always going to be, these things that currently exist because you've been alive for 40 years or 30 years or 50 years or 60 years or 70 years or whatever, right? Or 20 years. And it's always been like that. So nothing's going to change fundamentally, right? Oh, that war, that'll be over soon. Oh, yeah, I've seen this happen. Oh, look at the Ukraine. It's been going on for 4 years. Oh, they've been still fighting in Gaza, Lebanon. They'll stop and then it'll calm down. This is different. This is different. This is the pivotal point. This is the precipice. This is, where they say you've crossed the Rubicon, right? There is no going back. So, and there's a quote from the Bible that said, if not for the Messiah, the coming of the Messiah, then no flesh could be saved. The small hats are the problem, right? If not for the Messiah, you could not be saved from the synagogue of Satan. Who was that? The small hats. You couldn't be saved from them. Why? Because they have like these Samson doctrines and these things where if they don't win, they're going to destroy the whole world and take everybody with them. Right? Most people don't know that. Right? And they're willing to destroy everything if they don't get what they want. That's why they were willing to destroy the oil markets, right? In the Middle East. They said they're willing to destroy Donald Trump and force him into this war, blackmail him through the Epstein files to get the Epstein class to push this war, even though they knew it would wipe out the political career of the Trumpians and MAGA. They knew it was going to destroy MAGA. You think they gave a fuck? Not at all, right? They want what they want. They're willing to wipe out their political allies, like the people in the United States. This shit is gonna destabilize the whole government of the United States and cause civil war. Like I told my moms about a year ago when she asked me, she said, what do you think is gonna happen when Donald Trump got elected? I said, you're going into World War III and Civil War. She said, sounds like a good plot from a sci-fi. Well, welcome to the plot from the sci-fi, Mom, right? Goes to show why I would never listen to you about anything. I would never listen to my mother about generally anything. And that's why, right? Because now we're here to the point where she said it was sci-fi, right? Moving on, right? And so, but if it wasn't for the Messiah, this is also a woman who has a Bible with missing books. And I mentioned that to her and she got indignant about it. Like, I don't care if the Bible I'm reading sitting on this table doesn't have all the books in it. But that lets you know a lot of times the kind of people that you're dealing with. That's why I don't go back and forth with people. I actually try to have as little contact with people as possible. I rather make videos and work on, AI and robotics and the different projects I'm working on. Because with the time I got left, because I'm an old man now, with the time I got left, I don't want to waste it with people back with a bunch of chattering animals, right? Who, if you told them, they actually, I never told her, I never told her to ask me that. She just asked me, right? Be careful what you ask for. You know what I mean? You pray for, you might get it. And I told her, which was obvious to anybody with intelligence where this was going, even a year or so ago, right? Any real enlightened, intelligent person knows what's going to happen. And it's in my book that I also wrote like a year ago, right? This whole thing is in my book. I'll post the links, even though I know Negroes don't read books. But anyway, so it's obvious where this is going, right? And so these people are trying to play out the whole book of Revelations, but they're playing with something that's actually, they don't understand, right? Like, they think it's a joke, but what they're going to do is trigger something that maybe even they thought wasn't real, but they're going to trigger it. But that's not what this is about. So, but the prophecy in the Bible, and it is a prophecy. We asked him, he said, if it was not for the coming of the Messiah in the last days and no flesh could be saved, that's because of this. And you should be able to see that if you're a so-called Christian, but these a la carte Christians won't see it, like my mom, right? The pain is necessary, right? Let's be clear. This painful period is a transition we're going through. It's very necessary, right? And there's no way out now, right? These people are monsters, right? And some are actual monsters. And we have to understand that, right? That these people are monsters, man. I mean, I'm going to reveal and say some things that are going to seem crazy, but I've been right about a few things. I think I'm right about this too, right? These people are monsters, and some of them are at the top are actual monsters. What I mean, and this is also biblical prophecy, right? And I know you a la carte Christians, you don't believe in the Bible, right? You only believe in certain parts, right? Like if we say the Bible says no gay marriage, that part of the Bible doesn't count anymore. It's in the Old Testament. Or if it says, no race mixing or whatever, something like that, then you're totally against that, right? But then you're wearing a cross and you got a Bible and you're thumping it, and you're picking and choosing the prophecies that you like, right? Stuff like that. Very weird shit, right? But even though Christ said, I come in the volume of the book, right? That's what he said. I come in the volume of the book, the whole thing, Old Testament and New. But you chopped it up for your own wicked, degenerate purposes. But that's not what this is about. So these people are monsters. And when they're, yes, I'm gonna say this, when their devices, right? Their shape-shifting devices break, and they will break, you'll be able to see that they're actual monsters, right? Or what you call aliens, right? And there are plenty of them running around at this point, right? They're the people that are in control of your governments. You see, they're the creatures that built those pyramids. When you see pyramids, you know that your planet has been invaded, right? And those pyramids are thousands of years old, so we know they've been here for a very long time. I'm not going to go into that, right? But what I will say is that, and this has been revealed by Israeli intelligence officer, he's not an officer, but he was the head of Israeli intelligence, Hayam Asher, in the NBC interview, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago now. So, they're eventually, though, their devices are going to break. I don't know if it's going to be a CME, I don't know why, or whatever. They just may decide to come out of the woodwork, right? And so the Antichrist in the Bible is a reptilian type alien, some type of reptilian alien creature, right? At the top of this whole thing. Their God, right, is not a human, right? The God of these small hats and the rest of them is not human, if you can't tell, right? But you should be able to tell, right? By the amount of hatred they have for you, right? And, these people just killed maybe 200,000 people in Gaza over the past 24 months and are still killing people on Christmas in the homeland of your so-called Messiah. And you're not even bothered by that. You're probably more bothered by the fact that I'm saying something. Like, hey, I'm never going to speak to this guy again. I can't believe he's saying this, right? But where is the lie? Right? Where's the lie? Right? You're not going to speak to me, but you will speak to them. Why? Because they signing your paychecks. So you're going to skip to the loo, come in, to work, right, with bells on, right? Buck dancing up and down the aisle like Floyd Mayweather or some goddamn body, right? While they slaughter hundreds of thousands of people as a blood sacrifice in the homeland of your so-called Messiah, right? These a la carte Christians. Be careful, these people in these last days and time, right? Lest you burn with them. Doesn't matter who you are, right? Doesn't matter who you are. So, their cloaking devices will fail at some point, or they'll just come out the woodwork, right? Be prepared for that, right? That's why the Bible said men's heart will faint in fear when they see what's coming upon the earth. Don't faint, because I told you, if you would have listened and believed it, you wouldn't faint, because you'd be like, oh, that dumb, crazy guy told me. Yeah, that's why I don't worry about it. If I was to see one, I'd be like, whatever, fight's on. I'm not going to freak out. Right? And I believe some of them do eat humans. So, yeah. So, this is not a drill, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just say that. This is not a drill. And it will be, as Dora said, it will be chaos, right? I would prepare for chaos, right? Whether it's energy shortages, food shortages, a monetary collapse, these type of things, right? So do what you gotta do to prepare for that, right? And you're gonna see things that you never imagined you would see actually only in movies, right? This is gonna go sci-fi world, right? So the things you thought you would only see in movies, you're gonna see in real life very soon, right? Like, I would say within the next couple of years, right? Months, if not years, right? And I would say 2 years. I'm gonna put 24-month period, right? You're gonna start to see these things, in public, right? Whether it be these so-called ET spaceships, shape shifting, all these kind of things I'm talking about. You're gonna see them, right? I mean, listen, we're seeing. I tried to tell people we were going to see robots and things like that. We're seeing them now in battle. They're deploying robotic soldiers into China, in Ukraine on the battlefield, right? We got drones, which are just robots. We got underwater drones. Iranians have underwater drone ships, right? We have jets that fly themselves and bomb, remotely without a pilot. That's what we're living in that time, right? So please don't tell me what you think about what's not gonna be real, what's not gonna manifest itself, and what is. You know what I mean? Most people have no idea and have very small imaginations, and some of their intelligence to match that small imagination, small in size intelligence. Well, I hate to say it, but it is what it is, right? People have no problem insulting me, even ones in my own family, right? So I guess, you got, have tough skin around here, right? And so, yeah, I don't, I don't know what else to say. I think I said enough, right? I've said more than enough, but this is not a drill. And this is going to continue, I mean, will we see nuclear war? Will they nuke the Iranians? Possibly, right? Because they can't beat them. But if they do, then we all know what's going to happen after that. So, but anyway, I don't want to make this too long, right? Because it's hard to upload these videos when I make them really long. But just get ready, man. Welcome to sci-fi world, right? I mean, the age of robots and robotic warriors, aliens, nukes, and at a certain level, chaos. But there will be order that comes out of the chaos, but it won't be from these people. They're not going to save you. So just let's be clear, right? That salvation is an event. I'll say this before I go. Salvation is not getting holy water thrown on your face by some dirty ass priest somewhere, right? Who didn't stick his hand down your pants when nobody's around later on, right? Lies and steals money and sticks his hands down your pants. Salvation is an event. That event is coming, right? And think about it like this. Who needs salvation? Do the Israelis need salvation, or do you need salvation from them? Right? If you living in Gaza and you living in the West Bank and you living in Lebanon, having buildings dropped on you, right? Do you need salvation? Because the UN won't help you, the US won't help you, nobody will help you, the GCC won't help you, nobody. The Iranians is trying, right? Russia won't help you, China won't help you. They'll give good lip service, never trust them, right? Nobody can stop these people while they drop buildings on you, right? And carpet bomb countries, right? You wind up getting enslaved and colonized, all your resources stolen by these Nazis, and no one can help you. So you need to be saved from them, right? They bomb your oil fields, take your stuff, right? Kidnap your presidents. Nobody can stop them down there where these border jumpers, right? Won't even defend themselves. They kidnap their president and then they start butt dancing and giving away their oil and gold and stuff. Let you know what kind of people they is. Why would you want to, have them come into your country and integrate with them, right? It's a weird thing, right? When you're not even willing to fight for yourself. So they need to be saved, right? These weak countries like Venezuela need salvation. They think it's coming from white Jesus, though. They got huge statues of like white Jesus. They think that's salvation. These are degenerate, sick people who need to be saved. A lot of cases from themselves. All right? Anyway, I'm making this too long. But yeah, buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride. I'll see y'all in the next one.